sharing the poll results from Lou and Christian yesterday with regard to the Patriots being the team that has the least amount of interest from New England sports fans?
Yeah, that was I think 58% was the total, a couple thousand votes. By far and away, the least interest in the Patriots compared to the other three sports teams in town. It went Patriots, Bruins, Red Sox, Celtics in inverse order. So,
but I didn't feel like you had joy in your voice. I mean, I think you have issues with Bill Belichick and his inactivity so far this offseason, but
I've listened to sports radio since I could hear. Okay, I love the sports in this town. I love covering the sports in this town. Sports radio is my favorite place to be. It's my happy place. If you can think of that, that's how miserable I am everywhere else. But the Patriots aren't spending, and everybody's okay with it. Like there's factual data that says the Bills have spent $50 million more on this year's team than the New England Patriots. Just real cash, not cap, not any of that BS. And in what world should Buffalo, compared to the Patriots, have a bigger spending spree in any way? This is a bigger market, more wealthy fans, more money, higher advertising, bigger city by far. Like, I don't understand how that's okay for people.
I mean, would you say, as currently composed roster-wise, would you say that you look like the worst team in the division?
Boy.
That's not.
I can't say you're worse than the Jets just because Zach Wilson did not look good last year. But it's close. Like, it's closer than it should be, and that's not good. You are easily one of the bottom 4 teams in the conference roster-wise, as currently constituted.
When you at one point during this season beat the Bills, and you were the first in the AFC East at one point, so you wouldn't expect, you'd be like, all right, let's build off of that.
But did you when Bill spent all that money last year, did you really expect that this organization was going to come back and do the same thing?
No, but you needed to do something. Like, they haven't really done anything. They've brought back a few players, and it's not like, especially someone like me, like, I'm not asking him to go out and spend $200 million again, but make a splash, sign one person. But instead, we're just bringing back all these old guys that you told us last year you need to get faster and younger. Like, we all came to that conclusion, and yet they're not doing that.
I thought it was a change in philosophy. That's what I thought. Like, you no longer had Tom Brady, so, Bill has always say you do business as business is done. And I thought, okay, the philosophy now was, here's how we have to do business. We're not going to always spend, like Shyam said, we're not going to spend $200 million every offseason, but we are going to be competitive when it comes to spending money in free agency, because this is now how we have to do business.
And it's an archaic thing to say this isn't their philosophy. The league has evolved and changed. In the last 20 years, the cap has become less and less relevant. So at the beginning, Bill was brilliant to say, okay, go test your services elsewhere, come back and tell me what you're worth, and we'll figure it out. Now the margins are far wider, and there is not the same need to have value at every position. You can overspend and still win. Look at the Rams. Look at the Packers. Look at the Bucks today. Just gave 3 years, $21 million to Leonard Fournette. Ken was telling me this weekend they can't sign Jordan Whitehead. They have no money to spend. Wrong again, Ken.
Well, that's how it is now. And you're right, Curtis. That's how it is. You look at the Rams. They're a team that, after this season, can you say Sean McVay probably built a dynasty there, because he went and won Super Bowl, you won another Super Bowl. It looks like here's a team that is continuing to spend money and add pieces. This whole, when everybody sits here, all these football guys that, I know X's and O's, don't worry about the Rams. The Rams are going to be in cap jail. They're not going to be able to sign anybody. Things are going to fall apart. Then they just extend Matthew Stafford. They sign Allen Robinson. They're in the process of extending Aaron Donald to a new deal. That's the way.
They're still on Odell Beckham, too.
Yeah, they're still on Odell Beckham. That's the way business is done in the NFL. The Cincinnati Bengals, they had to add pieces. They signed the offensive lineman. You look at how things are done in the NFL, the new way of doing things, you can manipulate the cap, you can spread money out, you can restructure deals. But if you want to be competitive, you have to go out and make plays for high-ticketed free agents. They don't always have to be at the top of the food chain, but you got to be willing to spend some money against those, like whether it's the Chandler Jones or the Von Miller. That number's a little inflated, the whatever it is,
120.
120, but it's still $50 million that they're going to spend on Von Miller. You got to be willing to spend that type of money on those type of players.
And you still maintain that those type of players wanted to come here at this moment in where the franchise is.
If the money was offered to them, yes, I believe that. Because they did it last year with, we saw Matthew Judon, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, some of these other players doing it last year. I think if you were made competitive offers for some of those guys, whether it was an Allen Robinson, you would have been able to get those guys if the offer was competitive. Now, maybe some guys you miss out on, but I think you saw it with Christian Kirk, right?
Yeah.
Where'd he go? Jacksonville.
For a good amount of money,
Right.
14 or 15 million a year.
And Greg, even if I give you that the cap is not crap and that it's a real thing, right? Maybe Robert Kraft has a budget that Bill has to live within. We all work for people. Who knows? Would you rather have Shaq Mason or Trent Brown?
Shaq Mason.
Okay, so what? That was a bad decision. Even if you're not talking about who else they should have signed, Shaq Mason is a durable, young, run-blocking stud. But you traded him, and you brought back Trent Brown on a 2-year deal who is not durable, played less than half the games the last 3 years.
And if you don't want to spend outright money, you could have just flipped that Shaq Mason pick for Robert Woods. It's a better pick than what the Titans gave up to get him.
Right.
And you could have gotten a legit veteran receiver to come help your room, and instead you chose not to.
All right. Well, now I'm depressed.
Well,
Great way to end the day.
X-Bear is mad at us. Of course, they wait to talk sports for the final 5 minutes. Oh, my God.
Was the X-Bear listening? I mean, I felt like we spent a good deal of time talking about Jake DeBrusk today. And
They finally get into some actual talk I care about.
And you don't have to be depressed because there's still some pretty good free agents out there
There are,
that
right.
could make the team better.
All right.
But Bobby Wagner being, one of them.
so Splash coming.
I'm not saying it's coming, but there are guys out there if you really want to make a splash. I don't even know if we have water in our pool.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for listening and for watching. Even you, X-Bear. Curtis really likes you. Don't worry about it, X-Bear.
And I love you, Greg.
Same, Curtis.